In the Kalika Puran, Shiva loses his wife Sati and he's been enjoying his life with her for 10,000 years and suddenly she's gone. At this time, he starts to cry rivers of grief and that becomes the Vaitharani river, the river of death with acidic water which separates the living and the dead. But Brahma comes and consoles him and tells him, grief is one of the enemies of intelligence and by being grievous, you are not being intelligent. And then he lists the remaining enemies of intelligence, which is an important list for us. Okay, so how does it work? The first one is shokha, grief. If you have grief, then obviously you can't be intelligent because you will feel like a victim. You'll feel like something has been taken away from you which was very precious and now there is no more precious things in the world. By inference, that's what you're saying. There are no more precious things in the world. It's like a slap to Shakti's face saying you don't have any more precious things in the world to give me. And some people fall into grief because in Bollywood they've been taught that they should feel grief. And by feeling grief, it means that they love the person a lot. When they lose the person or if they lose something, they feel that grief shows them how much they loved it. But that's not true. Why don't you measure your love by how much you actually love them instead of by your grief? Krodha, the second one. Anger. When we start getting angry with people, again our intelligence has gone in the toilet. Because now you are only focused on one narrative and you don't understand why they did it. If you don't understand why they did whatever they did to make you angry, you can't stop them from doing it in the future. All you can do is break off the relationship, ruin it and get out. That's all you can do. You can't do more than that. So every time you get angry, remember you're rejecting someone whole and you're not really understanding why they did it because you don't have enough intelligence left to find that out. Next is lobha, which is possessiveness. Not wanting to share things, thinking that only you have authority over certain things. This is my child and my child should only confide in me, not in anybody else. The moment the child can't find answers from you, he or she will go and try and find answers somewhere else. Most parents don't talk anything about sex, so children are finding about it from someone else. And when you find out that your child is having sex, then you lose your temper and you feel really bad that how could you go to someone else for this information? But you didn't offer it yourself. Lobha doesn't allow us to see our faults for which people need other people other than you. So instead of improving yourself, you fall into possessiveness. Your husband gets a text from someone, and then you want to know who this is. Or your wife gets a text from someone and you want to know who this is. Why are you sending smileys? Okay, so that is lobha and it ruins your intelligence. You don't have intelligence then to understand the whole picture of what this person is actually needing and you can't really serve that need. You may not even be willing to serve that need that they have, but still you say that everything should come from me. I will give everything and you will take everything from me because you are mine. Okay, that's an enemy of intelligence. Next thing is kama, lust. When you watch porn and you titillate yourself, and then when you watch some fantasy romantic movies and you titillate yourself and you want the same thing, then you fall into kama and Kamdev will shoot his arrows and after that you won't know what happened. Your intelligence will be gone forever. Okay, so be careful. The next one is moha, which is attachment to pleasure. And you just expect that everything should go hunky-dory all the time. If you want to go outside and it rains, then you feel horrible about it. Because you are attached to the pleasure of enjoying yourself without the rain. And so many things will be happening in your life. When COVID breaks out, a lot of people were attached to pleasure and they're like, we can't do these things anymore. Because you're not understanding the whole picture. Your intelligence is in the toilet. It took people like 2-3 months to accept COVID. So moha, because you're attached to pleasure, you can't adapt and then you lose your intelligence. And then there is paratmata, which is subservience, which is you going and saying that the other person has to give me purpose and I will just follow exactly what they say. And I don't want to make any mistakes. I'll just follow exactly what they say. I won't use my brains at all. Most of the employees in the corporate world are like this. They don't have to use their brain at all. They have to just follow orders. And then their intelligence will be again in the toilet. Okay. Then Irsha, jealousy. In jealousy, what happens is that you hold something and you don't want to give it to anyone else. You got some knowledge, you don't want to give it to anyone else. There are a lot of gurus like this. They've learned some yoga and they've learned some knowledge. They don't want to share it with anyone else. They just want to keep it with themselves and be powerful. There are a lot of Varmakale teachers like this who don't want to teach their knowledge. Okay? So there are a lot of people like this who keep certain knowledge only to themselves. That's called jealousy. And they also keep the access of certain things only to themselves. They don't want to share it with anyone else. When the British were here, they didn't want to share all of their privileges with us. That's also a kind of irsha. And when you have irsha, your life becomes miserable because you're so worried about who will take your things that you can't enjoy yourself anymore. And then there is mana. Mana is pride, like feeling extremely jingoistic about something. Okay? When you start feeling that there's nobody better than you and your people, or you and your whatever, I don't know, achievements, and then you lose your intelligence again. Whatever you achieved will again go away from you because you're not learning and you're not growing because you're so far too proud of what you've achieved. Okay, so don't be proud of what you've achieved. They're going to achieve much more. This is nothing. Whatever you've done so far is nothing. You're going to achieve more. Vichikitsa, which is indecision. Okay, you are not able to decide about two things because you are scared what will happen. I have to take the responsibility if it goes bad. So you're afraid to fail. So when people are afraid to fail, they'll get into vichikitsa, indecision, uncertainty, that kind of stuff, which is again an enemy of intelligence. You cannot expect any intelligence to operate when you have vichikitsa. And surprisingly in this list for some people is krupa or compassion. If you start feeling sorry for someone, you are saying that that person is not intelligent. I have to help them in everything. You don't have to feel sorry for anyone. You can tell them as it is. And you don't have to help anybody who's not willing to be helped, who's not taking that 2 steps. When you start spoon feeding people help, then it's called krupa. And most of the NGOs today are doing this only, spoon feeding. They're not teaching the people and making them strong, but they want to spoon feed them. And that doesn't make them grow, because when you're not there to spoon feed them and you run out of funding, then the whole project crashes. I've done this before. A project I was doing with 1 million children crashed because COVID happened and we ran out of funding. And I resolved never to do that again, never to put my hands out and beg. All they were giving me was 2 crores. I can earn that myself. So I took the next 3 years, I don't know when did COVID end, maybe 2022. So the next 2 years I took to make sure that I have funding for my own NGO and I'm never going to go to this corporate funding again. Now when I help people, it's happening in a sustainable way. No krupa, they have to do their hard work and they have to grow. And that's how I do my 64-day challenge. Asuya. Asuya is envy. This is another enemy of intelligence, and this is the 11th one, which makes you feel that somebody has got something that they don't deserve, which I actually deserve. I deserved it, but they got it. And you start feeling envious about them. Okay? You're single and you see someone with their girlfriend and you feel, that should have been me. You know, that kind of shit. Anyway, don't feel that. Because if you inhabit any of these things, you can kiss your intelligence goodbye, intelligence bye, like that. Okay? Last one is jugupsa or abhorrence. When you start thinking, oh my God, this is so bad, this is horrible, look at these people, how could they do that? Okay? Even if it's a rapist, even if it's somebody started a war, how could Putin invade Ukraine? You start. And then you start, how could that rape happen? How could this happen? How could the Pakistanis do this? When you start that, your intelligence is gone because you're not understanding how could they. If you understand how could they, then you can stop it. But if you don't understand how could they and you say that they are a failure as a human being because they did it, then you lose the intelligence to find out why they did it and how to stop them. Okay? So without abhorring, you should live your life. Whatever you abhor, you'll become that. This is what my guru taught me. Whatever you abhor, you'll become that. And you'll lose your intelligence. So these are the 12 enemies of intelligence. I hope you enjoyed knowing about these. Many of you are in bed with these things. So please get out of bed with these things and refuse to be part of these 12. Watch this video again, take notes and make sure that you don't fall into these 12. You'll become supremely intelligent. So how to be supremely intelligent? Stop entertaining the enemies of intelligence. Don't be in bed with the enemies of intelligence. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, then let me know in the comments what you learned.